All right, we're here for the Week 5 press conference with offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach Jake Spavital prior to the Pac-12 home opener against Arizona State. We'll go ahead and start with questions from Jeff Fernando from Cal Sports Report.
Good morning, Jake. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Jeff?
All righty. Can you tell us as the week progresses what specifically you'll be looking for from the two quarterbacks to help you decide which one you're starting on Saturday?
Yeah, that's it. There's a lot of development side of things that we're working on a week by week basis. There's also three quarterbacks as well, throwing Fernando and Ben and Sam in the mix. And I feel like every time we play, whoever starts ends up having kind of like the worst of the games, and the second one comes in and then plays better. And I don't want to see that consistency. I throw that word around a lot, but you have to have that at the quarterback position. You don't have to make the unbelievable play every single time you step out on the field. Just play the play and understand when to hand it off, when to put a guy in conflict, when to throw the ball. And then it comes down to execution and taking care of the football. The story of this past week was the turnovers. The turnovers were extremely detrimental, and I don't always put the turnovers on the quarterback. They take the blame, enough, throughout the course of the game, but. On the first turnover, Ben ends up throwing an interception off of Jack Injury slips on an outcut, which is going to be a first down throw. And then obviously protection breaks down and Ben makes a ill-advised decision right there. The second one was a third down with a zero pressure look that we missed an internal pressure. A guy came through clean and, Ben ended up throwing an interception, needs to throw that one away. But if we do have that protection there, it could be a possible touchdown, So we've got to be able to take care of the ball better. That's really kind of the whole entire point. We talked about efficiency. I thought they're playing more efficient. I thought the ball's going where it needs to go. We're handing it off at times. They show signs of being explosive, but then the detrimental side of this past week was the turnovers. And I want to just see consistency with making the right decision, taking care of the football, all right, and letting our playmakers go make plays.
You've talked in the past about Sam's inexperience, but needing to see what they can do in the games. Did you see anything out of him from decision-making standpoint that was encouraging, and how much can you tell what he's doing in practice versus what he has to do on game days?
Yeah, it's, we talked about the Idaho game, and there was a lot of indecision in that game. A lot of ups and downs for Sam, and he knows that, and he does. And we talked about just the demeanor and the attitude and just kind of how you play the quarterback position with you can't take, your footwork can't get lazy. It's got to be a very aggressive demeanor all the time when you're popping your feet into throw and being ready position and making sure that you have the proper drops and the depths in the pocket. And I thought Sam came in and looked really good. Like I say, just in terms of distributing the ball, he's throwing the hitch routes out there to Hightower, and then he throws a backside choice to Tron on a deep throw. He's handing the ball off when it needed to, and we played with a good sense of urgency and tempo. And I thought Sam really made a lot of progression from the Idaho week, all right, into this week, and it makes me happy, from a point of he is trying to get better, and the development side of things is getting there. And I just thought, if Sam can play with that demeanor, he's going to be really good consistently throughout the course of any game that he plays, if he plays that consistently. And you look at Ben, Ben looks like he got in a rhythm at times, and he looked, pretty sharp at times. It's just the inconsistency of those turnovers is where it was, and we need to help him out a little bit more too at times. But they both show signs of being really good quarterbacks. It's just we're not consistently playing at a high level like we need to.
And real quick, you mentioned Fernando's. Can you actually? Hard to rep three guys in a game week, right?
Yeah, obviously Ben didn't play today, and as Fernando ended up getting a ton of snaps, we'll get Ben caught up tomorrow. But we find ways to kind of steal reps with Fernando. We do. He does the developmental scrimmages throughout the course of the week. I try to slip him in on certain kind of pass skill reps or just anything of that nature. And but his work ethic is tremendous, and he's always going to be ready to go. I really feel comfortable with Fernando. He had a really good practice today. Acted like he's been in the mix for a long time, and it was just good giving him that opportunity because he sees that there's inconsistent play, and he's going to be ready for his opportunity to go, and maybe he can run with it and take it over.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, we'll go to Steve Croner from the SF Chronicle.
And Jake, would there be a situation in which you would use both quarterbacks in the game by design? I mean, they've both played in games this season, but mainly it's because one of them's gotten hurt. The only time of the only 4 was, a little bit of ineffectiveness from Ben in the beginning of the Auburn game. Is there a scenario in which Ben takes the first series and Sam takes the next, and you go from there?
We've thought about that. We have, we've talked about Ben being, day by day right now, and eventually being ready for this game. We'll be practicing tomorrow, but I think that's kind of one of those deals that we just got to wait and go through this practice. But like, we have had a lot of discussions about this, about rotating it through, just so we can figure out who's going to consistently do their job and take it over. And to me, it's wide open still. But and they understand it. I think the play that these quarterbacks have had over the past few weeks, and they know that they're playing inconsistently, and it's just not anybody's issue. It's everybody's issue, and we just got to keep working through it. And knowing, like, we tell them every week, you're going to have an opportunity to play whoever it is. But this is your opportunity to separate yourself and take off with it. But, Coach and I have had this talk actually yesterday about potentially doing that as well. So it definitely has crossed in our conversations. But, right now we're just looking for the guy that's going to consistently do it right.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, we'll go to Matt Moreno from Rivals.
Listening to Coach Wilcox after the game and then again today, he's brought up, playmaking and decision-making as part of, kind of this process. And it seems like something that would not be easily fixable. So how do you kind of go about making them better decision makers at the quarterback position?
Yeah, it comes down to reps. And, sometimes where I get frustrated is that they make the same mistake twice. And it doesn't happen that often, but they do. And I look at it as, am I teaching this wrong? And how do I correct this? And how do I put an emphasis on this? Because, we are only going to be as good as the quarterback play. And that's any, team across the country. You look at, Washington and their quarterback play with Michael Penix Jr. It's pretty remarkable to watch because there's on the same, the ball's on time and going where it needs to be. And he knows when to hand it off. He knows when to throw it. It's just, he's played a lot of football too, and our decision making has to go down to reps and then trying to kind of minimize the call sheet to what they're comfortable doing, and that's something that we've had a lot of discussions with all the quarterbacks on what they like and don't like. And we're trying to simplify it as much as we possibly can so they can make, better decisions throughout the course of the game.
All right, next question will come from Maria Koladova.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, Maria.
Coach Wilcox said that Justin Williams-Thomas is back in pads. Can you just talk a little bit more about what you're seeing from the running back room, from Ott, from Isaiah, from Ashton?
Yeah, no, with Ott, Isaiah, Ashton, you got Javen got in a little bit in the Washington, showed some signs. Those 4 have been battling, and they've all kind of been beat up a little bit too. Jed kind of was, rolled up early in the year, but then it was great seeing him get out there. Afonse's been beat up at times, but, he's a tough kid, keeps showing up. Streddick's been great, been phenomenal with that. Had a bad wheel, had a bad ankle in the Auburn game. He's back to getting healthy. Jay Ott's doing a great job as well and back. So they're starting to get, great health back in that room. At times, we were one play away from, we were moving, defensive players over to emergency situations and scenarios that have occurred to get us out of a game. But seeing Justin Williams-Thomas come back, it's actually kind of a breath of fresh air because we've been putting him in the developmental scrimmages. So you got Fernando and all those guys going, and you see a different speed. You see, fresh legs. You see a guy that has played college ball before, and it's really good to see him, getting back into the mix. So if we can get him back and healthy whenever we feel like he's going to get back, he's looking better every single day. I feel like it's coming soon. Now you got probably 5 backs in there that you feel comfortable with, and getting our health back. So, injuries are part of the game, and we got to move and shake as best as we can. And just getting him back, it just provides a lot more quality depth because when we're going into those early games, we're sitting there with 3 running backs, and sometimes that gets pretty tough when one goes down.
All right, we'll go back to Jeff Ferrado.
Yeah, Jake, this game, the score got out of hand early. I'm wondering how much that had to do with the fact that you really couldn't get the run game established the way you have previously, and you really, or how much of it is your line didn't perform well enough to get Jaden some room to run against the Huskies?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of all. I thought they had a talented D-line. In our pass game, we were all talking about how we can just really make sure that those defensive ends aren't going to make any plays, but then their interior guys played extremely well too. So we had our moments where we had it up, and we had our moments where we didn't finish. We're going to the right guys. We're on them. We need to have more fight and more finish on what we do. And that stems from, running the ball harder. It stems from also just finishing your blocks as well. And Coach Blesh has put a big emphasis on that this week. Because in order for us to be a successful offense and take the pressure off those quarterbacks, we got to run the ball more effectively. And when you get into those downs, kind of like very similar to the Auburn game, when you hand it off and you're getting about 2 yards and you're getting to a 2nd and 8, you got to start throwing the ball around a little bit more, trying to get it on the perimeter. And sometimes when you get into an incompletion on that, now you're sitting at a 3rd and 8, and that's going to be tough for protection and trying to get the ball out of time. So we've got to be more efficient in that run game to get those 4, 5, 6 yard runs. And when that happens, that takes a lot of pressure off that quarterback. When
you are in a situation where you're going to have to throw more, whether you're behind or whatever, do you find other ways you can get the ball to Jaden? I think he caught 2 passes for a few yards in this one, but could you exploit him further as a receiver?
Yeah, we can. We got him a little bit active. He would have probably got a little more targets, but we've ended up pulling him out, in that 4th quarter. And he really got, 3 targets out of the backfield. There's going to be times where we move him around out into empty sets and out there on the perimeter as well. But I think that is his strength too. I think he's a guy that loves to be in space, and I think he's very dynamic. So we got to find more ways to be able to get him touches on the perimeter.
I mean, for you guys to be as good as you want to be, he's got to be a big part of it, right?
Yeah, he does, and he knows that, and he's been an explosive guy. It comes down to really all their playmaking abilities, because we can't just rely on one guy. But he's a big help in what we're trying to get to. He's got to be able to maybe hit those home run shots a little bit more, what he's capable of doing, and sometimes that has to deal with being a little bit more aggressive and get a little more push, a little more finish up front, and just give him that added second, just to get him some more yardage and to get him in space. Because once he can hit that crease, he's gone. But if they're really closing and suffocating the box, it makes it very difficult on him. And we got to get him in better run schemes that we've been talking about to get him out there in the open field a little bit more.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, we'll go back to Steve Croner.
Yeah, Jake, what distinguishes the Arizona State defense, and how similar or different is it from any of the 4 teams you've played so far this season?
Yeah, I think they're very talented. I do. I think their defense coordinator, Brian Ward, does an unbelievable job. He's defense coordinator at Washington State, very aggressive. He's going to zero pressure you at times. He's going to get up in your face. He's not afraid to man up anybody. He manned up USC all last weekend and gave them some trouble at times, and got some turnovers because they're very unique in their schemes, and then he'll go kind of extreme and shoot to a Tampa 2 at times, and then and be very soft in the pass. But then the next play, he's bringing the zero pressure, and that's why they create a lot of tackles for losses. That's why they're very disruptive, and they create ways to get turnovers. I do think they've been playing a lot of snaps. You can tell, and he's moving a lot of bodies in and out. But I do think that they're pretty solid across the board. Their defensive line is very active, very aggressive. They're always stunting and twisting and moving. And we got to be very disciplined in terms of staying on our blocks and understanding that, this is not going to be just a 3 technique and a shade and a 5, and they're going to stay in their gaps. No, they're going to be moving all over the place and stunting and twisting and blitzing and mugging backers up. And we got to make sure that we negate the negative plays because they want to play behind the chains. They want to get you in those negative situations and let those defense linemen go. I think they're talented across the board. It's a new staff, and I know they're figuring it out. They're getting better every single week, and that's we're expecting their best game. Just watching that USC game, they got after them pretty good. They did, and they had their moments. And Caleb Williams did some pretty impressive plays, but. At the end of the day, I thought that Arizona State was in that game, and because of their defensive play.
Great, thank you.
All right, we'll go back to Matt Moreno for a final question.
Just looking at the numbers, the receivers, the ball was spread around pretty well to a lot of different guys. How important was that to get, Jack Andrews and Hightower and Marquise kind of involved in the passing game to just have those different options to kind of have the offense running at full tilt?
Yeah, and that was what we wanted to get to. I felt like in the Idaho game, I felt like in the Auburn game, like we weren't getting the targets needed. We weren't distributing the ball like we normally do. So really put an emphasis on trying to get it to the tight end a little bit more, to break those tendencies, try to get like some more shots down the field, or have some more intermediate type plays as well. Running backs out of the backfield too with Jaden Knott. We wanted to make sure that we were trying to distribute a little bit more because sometimes when we get in games and we're not being as efficient as we like in the run game, like I was just talking about, we kind of get a little bit more one-dimensional. We're making sure that we're trying to like do some like very efficient plays and just keep the ball moving forward instead of being as aggressive as we normally are. So you saw a lot more aggressive shots down the field. I think we had 9 or so explosive pass plays in this game, and that was because we were being more aggressive with the play calling and taking the shots when needed.